Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the transatlantic Dl Lsv53 26D commercial grade 2 cylindrical lever lock set, what they call a Saturn style, entrance function, satin chrome finish. This is a very common lever lock. Meaning the color, the lever design, the function all conspire to make this incredibly common. You're going to see this standard duty commercial lock used in those applications that don't expect a high amount of volume or any sort of vandalism, but still enough use to warrant a grade 2 lock. Grade 2 lock is a 400,000 life cycle rated lock set. The LSV53 by Transatlantic is a lock that I have sold over several years, and this sort of application is going to be seen, or at least this construction of lock, not necessarily this function, privacy, storeroom locks. Moderate volume retail stores, fast food places, places that will have some exposure to volume and exposure to misuse. And our clients who have used these, many of them have come to depend on the quality, reliability, the price point, and request them in the future. They are a really great lock set that the only time I wouldn't suggest using it is if you were going into a heavy-duty, high-volume application, or one that you expected to be one that there would be abuse, or if you had a situation where you wanted to rebuild it down the road. You don't get replacement parts for this imported lock from Transatlantic, but the truth of the matter, for what it costs, a lot of the logic with a lot of people would be to just simply replace the lock. Now, this is a cylindrical lock. That means that the body of this lock set, the latch bolt of this lock set, is different than a tubular lock where the latch bolt goes through the spindle. This chassis is called cylindrical. Okay. There's a retracting hub inside of here that pulls the latch bolt back, okay, when it's engaged. This is a 53 function, and what that means is you have a key on the outside. Okay, that's always locked when the push button on the inside is pushed and turned. So this is a push-turn button. So when this button is pushed in and turned, it will stay locked on the outside. When you rotate that to the vertical, it's still locked on the outside, but at this point, as soon as you exit, it will pop that knob out, unlocking the exterior. Or you can leave it as a passage, always unlocked, always unlocked. Okay, so there's three functions in one. Entrance is all of it. Office is when you just do a push button, and then passage, of course, is when it's always unlocked. Again, designed for use on all standard duty grade 2 light commercial or residential applications. It's ADA compliant, okay? Zinc die-cast material this trim is made of. Non-handed, completely reversible. That key is going to go in horizontally, so it's completely non-handed. It's going to include a cylinder, a Schlage C keyway. You'll get two keys naturally, and a look-alike original Schlage bow. 6-pin, and it's drilled 6-pin in the cylinder, and it's pinned 6-pin. Okay. You want to keep that in mind if this is a residential application, and you're going to buy this lock and put it on a garage door or whatever the case is. You might have difficulty keying the rest of the house if you're going to key it to the new lock, because that is indeed a 6-pin key. Most residential locks simply will not accept a 6-pin blank because they're too long. Okay. Again, you'll get two of them. Your latch bolt is a 1/2-inch projection, which is important to know in the sense that this is standard, just a 1/2-inch projection. If you're going to use this construction of lock with an electric strike, like not a 53 or an entrance function, but a storeroom function or a classroom function, knowing that the latch bolt projection is 1/2 inch is crucial, because that is to be compatible with your electric strike. Okay. The other components that you're going to get is a 4 7/8 strike plate. This is intended or it's packaged to come with this strike, which is really meant for a hollow metal frame, 4 7/8 tall. Overall width, you can see, this going into a steel frame, you don't really need to know any of this, except the lip length. It's about 1 3/8, okay, which is a standard lip length. You're going to get your 2 keys, okay. Your latch bolt, that's going to be 2 1/4 tall, 1 1/8 wide, which is standard for commercial hollow metal doors or machined wood doors. You're going to get a bolt package. Let's go over that next. So first of all, there's a link below this video to the installation instructions, and they show all the aspects from mortising, drilling the door out, to assembly. So when your lock comes, that inner lever might be attached or locked down onto the base. Okay, just take a short object or a very small nail and poke it into the hole that's on the thumb turn side, and you'll be able to remove that lever. From that point, I want you to take note of this tang that's right here. I'll show it to you more in a moment. There's not one on this side. That tang will always go towards the hinge side of the door or towards the inside of the door. At that point, you can remove the rosette with its spring cage assembly on the inside, and there's that tang. You can see there's only one. That tang is important to have pointed back towards the hinges, because what happens is this bird's mouth preparation in the back of the lever engages with that, and it's that action that makes the springs inside of here compress, which bring the lever back to vertical. That's why that's important to be towards the hinges. You cannot install it the other way. You're then going to get this here back plate. Okay, that will come off. So at this point, you got the rest of the chassis, your lever, your escutcheon rosette with the spring cages on the inside, and your back plate, your mounting plate. So at this point, you're going to be doing a lock preparation of the door that's 2 1/8 inch. A typical 161 prep is what it's called in the business. 2 1/8 preparation at 2 3/4 back set. The edge preparation needs to be 2 1/4 by 1 1/8, 5/32 deep preparation. Now this lock is optional when it comes to the through bolt holes that you'll drill at 12 6. I absolutely recommend that you install the lock with those through bolt holes. Okay. The only reason you see those 2 different vertical lines is the possibility for doing a 2 3/8 back set. You can order this lock with a 2 3/8 latch bolt. You can order it with a 2 3/4 T-strike. And if you're going to be doing a door that requires a smaller back set, reach out to us and we'll help determine what that is, or enter your order correctly. The diameter of the rosette is about 3 3/8, let's say. So if the hole's 2 1/8, that's going to be 1 inch and a 16 from the edge of the door. Pardon me. If you've got 3 3/8 diameter, and you know you're going to be at 2 3/8 back set, okay, you can determine where you're going to be to the outside of the lock. Let's say 2 3/4. So your back set is 2 3/4 plus the 3 3/8, but only half of that dimension. So inch and 11/16 plus 1.6875. You're going to be about 4 7/16 from the edge of the door to the edge of the rosette. Okay, so and that's based on 2 3/4 back set. Keep that in mind when you're determining your style width. That's where you're going to end up, about 4 7/16. Well, that's to the absolute. You'd obviously want it to be a little bit greater dimension than that, depending on if there's glass or whatever the case might be. You can reduce that by 3/8 dimension if you went with the 2 3/8 latch bolt. Now, 2 1/8 hole, you're going to do your through bolt holes at 12 6. Those are 5/16 diameter, pointed out here. Absolutely drill all of these holes straight. You don't want your lock to be bound, you know, in a very unnatural sort of installation based on all your holes not being drilled straight. You want to be sure you're drilling them straight. Assuming that you're going to do that, you'll take these 2 posts, these threaded posts, and there are indeed 2 of them, and you're going to screw those into the chassis at 12 6. So those will go in there. And the idea of these posts going into the lock is that it'll help to keep the chassis of the lock exactly where it needs to be. You can put so much rotational pressure on the entire cylindrical hub of the lock that it will, fail prematurely if there's all this undue stress. These posts, these through bolt holes, keep that lock, exactly where it needs to be, far better than just relying on the connection of the latch bolt into the chassis of the lock. Okay, always trying to turn it that way. At this point, you are able to okay, you've got your back plate. Now it's time to get that installed. And the way that the instructions show this, your back plate you'll be able to take and install right onto the face of the door at this point. Oh, there's a spring in our way here. Okay, and then there in the instructions are showing that you're going to attach through these holes with the screws. Okay, per the what might be which is step 5 here. So that back plate will be attached to the door. Then your spring cage comes over. Now this is going to bolt through the door using 2 screws that you'll have like this, and there'll be plenty of these. That goes through this hole, but at this point your installation is such that it will thread into the back side of the through bolt. Okay, you're going to tighten that down. That's how it locks everything down together. So you've got your back plate mounted to the face of the door, and then the chassis, that spring cage assembly that the rosette sits over, I had removed that, bolts it all together. Once you have that done, remember that tang, it's going to go opposite of where the latch bolt is or toward the hinges. That rosette will come on and you're just going to snap that on and rotate it and it'll stay in place. Once you have that done, all you're going to do now is just take your lever, pop it right back on. Make sure that it's installed properly. That's it. It's the entire installation. Very simple lock to install. If the holes are drilled properly for the lock set, especially the through bolt holes at 12 and 6, this lock will perform flawlessly for you, and you'll probably quickly become a fan of the transatlantic line of grade 2 commercial locks, especially for the cost. They are really hard to snub a nose at in terms of value. Transatlantic is a comprehensive provider of imported builders quality hardware. They are a line that my family has been selling for decades. Exit devices, door closers, lock sets, hinges, many other items. And here in the Chicago market, a lot of contractors have come to rely, like I said initially, on the dependability, on the value of the dollar, on the reliability, the predictability, etc., as have their clients. If you have any questions on the Transatlantic TA Dl Lsv53 satin chrome grade 2 entrance function cylindrical lock, or any other transatlantic product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.